Hello and welcome. Today we're live with Ross Brand, and we're going to be talking about the power of video, live streaming video, not just video, but live streaming video for your business and business marketing. So today I welcome, I hope right now, whoops, I'm taking him out of the stream, I'm losing it. Okay, guys, give me 1 sec to get rid of this. And show you Ross and I. Hello, Ross.
Here we are. How are you, Sue-Ann?
I'm so happy to see you. I can't even tell you. It's just thrilling to have you. You've taught me so much about live streaming and really have made me more enthusiastic about it overall.
Well, that's great. And thank you so much for having me on the show. It's great to see what you're doing here on YouTube and Facebook, and glad to be a part of it.
Well, let me tell you guys a little bit about Ross in case you're not up to date. Ross Brand is a professional live streamer. He's served in many capacities, including red carpet host for the Emmy Award-winning Never Settle show, which is produced by Al Roker Entertainment Group. He's a brand ambassador for Wirecast, an on-camera host for a lot of Facebook Live video and LinkedIn Live developers and producers and broadcasters. He offers broadcast solutions, and he's also involved and talks about StreamYard. He does the StreamYard Connect show weekly. He also is a part of Be Live and Live U.
Was a part.
Okay. Whoops, now you're strictly the StreamYard. But he was also selected as one of 5 live video experts to follow by Switcher Studio. And so you could say, if you want to, that Ross, today's guest, is, here's my name for you, Ross, the king of stream.
Wow, I'm honored. I should put a crown on or something. But, you know, I'm of course too humble for that. So
Of course. You know,
I am going to screenshot that, though.
Yes, definitely. Ross, that's why I am so pleased to have you, because as I'm learning about live streaming, and so are a lot of people, particularly in the new work from home environment we're all faced with, as we're learning about live streaming, you're the go-to guy for like everybody, and you are the face of StreamYard. And so it's really great to have you on board and be able to pick your brain a little bit today with what's going on in live streaming and why people might want to be involved in live streaming for their business.
Sounds good. Go ahead and fire those questions away.
Okay, so I'm going to throw you one out of the blue here. That's not on your pre-question ideas.
Right off script already.
Right off script. So
I love it that way.
Here's why, because this is the one thing that probably, to get the obstacle out of the way. My question is this: in your perspective, what is the hardest thing, the most challenging part of live streaming?
Wow, that's a great question. And whenever somebody says that's a great question, it usually means they're stalling for time so that they can think of an answer. But it actually is a great question. The hardest thing about live streaming is finding the right balance when it comes to engaging the chat. So when do I bring in questions and comments from the chat? How do I do that? When do I focus on the guest, for example, exclusively? Do I put comments on the screen but not shout people out? Do I shout people out but not put comments on the screen? And how do I engage the chat? Do I put a question out there for people to get the chat going? Do I just do the content that I would do regardless of if anybody was chatting? There's a lot of questions that you could ask yourself when it goes into managing the chat. But I think that is often the most challenging thing. Coming from a radio background, of course, we didn't see an active chat. We didn't really have an idea who was listening at the moment. And unless we were taking calls, that was our only interaction with an audience while we were live. So it's a very different way of broadcasting or creating content, but it's a very powerful thing when done right. You can do Q&As, you can do product demos, you can do webinars, you can do all sorts of different content in which your whole focus is engagement with the audience, or you can do a more blended type of show, such as what you're doing now, where you may bring in questions, but essentially you're doing it more podcast style as an interview with your guest.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there, because I would have to agree with you. That is one of the trickiest things. You want to bring people in, but you're also trying, especially if you're a rookie such as myself, you're trying to, operate the production. You're trying to remember to put up a banner. You're trying to remember to mention that Ross is the king of stream. You're trying to throw that ticker in. You're trying to, and I have put in at your with your little bit of help there, I've put in a second screen now so that I can have a monitor if I'm presenting. Now, today is an interview type format, but if I'm presenting information, I'm going to be playing with that second screen as a way to see the presentation and also be able to work from the panel behind the scenes here to put the production, because I am not just, the personality and the show talent. I'm also the producer, right, Ross, when you do this live streaming?
You're everything. I mean, you are the entire operation there. So you have to be able to set things up in a way that allows you to host and yet still have access to all the information, all the buttons, all the different things that you have to do. It's a challenge that people in TV almost have never had to deal with, for the most part. Running a show like this is requires you to wear many hats. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of different things that you have to do that in a traditional, say, TV station, traditional news department or entertainment show would be divided up amongst a whole bunch of different people.
Right. In other words, like a small business owner, which likely you already are, even if you're entering this space now, you might be kind of used to wearing all the hats. But then again, the technicalities, and that's some of the stuff we'll talk about today. Now, the other thing, Miss Eileen is here. She's saying hi, Sue Ann, and hi, Ross. How about me? I caught a comment in the fly here. So
Very
that's
nice.
super cool. I appreciate you being here, Miss Eileen. And you are another one who have taught me so many things and helped to, project that I should, get out of my shell and go ahead and be brave and get on video and audio. And that's a huge thing, I think. I think that's the other thing I noticed, Ross, is people are using live streams for like a million purposes. Like you said, it's a great way to connect with your audience. And I wrote up, let me know if you think this is true or not. I wrote up, first, let me hide the ticker. I wrote up this little thing earlier today, if I can find it. And it's sort of my definition. And I can't find it. It's my definition. I can tell you what it is without finding it. It's my definition kind of what live streaming means in the business and marketing world, and especially in the digital space. I think that live streaming is a form of video marketing, but it also is enhancing the ability for relationship building, like being able to answer those comments. And Miss Eileen is saying, I'm proud of you, Sue Ann. You are doing it. So that's super cool. I think also it is reflecting the current state of marketing, which isn't just about projecting your marketing out there, but actually bringing people in to your business, who are your advocates and who are your fans and who are your clients, all different aspects of people who are your community, I guess, so to speak. And I think that you can reach those people so much easier and quicker and more directly through the live stream. Wouldn't you agree?
I think so. I think it's certainly a powerful tool for brand awareness when you're going live regularly, when you're letting people across your network on different social channels, on email, on maybe with advertising, however you're getting your message out there, you're letting people know, I'm going live, I'm talking about the product, or I'm talking about the industry, or I'm doing something that's related to what your customers might want to come out for. You are capturing attention on a bunch of social platforms, even if they don't actually come and watch the live show, just by doing the promotion and the repurposing follow-up. You're getting in front of a lot of people across a lot of different social networks. And it's also great for new customer acquisition because you can answer questions from people in the chat. They may ask you about your product or service because they are genuinely interested or genuinely have a need for that and aren't sure where to go. And if you can answer their question or solve their problem, that's a great start in converting someone to becoming a customer. But I also think that now with the lockdown, but also with technology advancing, actually doing sales, like literally selling products and services with platforms like Amazon Live, with Instagram,
Amazon, I was
integrating, all this sales technology and e-commerce technology is going to be integrated into a live stream. So it'll no longer be like, if you enjoy my show, go over to my website, sign up, I can send you something, you can buy this, or here's my Amazon link. No, it'll be literally like they buy it off the shelf while they're watching your video, and that's
you've
going
seen
to be
auctions,
the next level of it.
Right? Auctions. I've seen auctions and like church fundraisers. So through live stream. So that would be a form of what you're talking about, like in its infancy now, right? Even
absolutely.
theater productions I've seen, or museum tours, or
yeah. I mean, it's a lifeline for businesses right now. It's a lifeline for artists, for entertainment. It's a lifeline for musicians, because all the things that they used to do in person, whether it was a musician putting on a concert in person and selling tickets, or a brick and mortar store owner having foot traffic to their store and talking to customers one-on-one, or vendors going to trade shows and meeting with people in the industry and talking about their new product. All that isn't available right now. So those who've been able to pivot and take that communication with their customers and potential customers to live video have an asset that most businesses did not have. So I don't think they're going to relinquish that, even if we go back to all the different types of face-to-face contact that we had, because they're seeing the value of it, and it's literally saved businesses that would not have survived because they were built entirely around the in-shop experience. And the owner of the business, the manager, or someone on their team came up with the idea of putting something together that, one, worked as a show, but two, also had a direct line of sight back to their revenue, back to selling the products or services that they are known for. So when you can bring those two elements together, that's when live streaming is really at its best. When you can create a piece of content that is of interest, that is of value, that is entertaining in and of itself, but at the same time can lead people to become a customer, can answer a question or help or provide value to a customer, that's when you're hitting it at the highest level, right?
You're aligning that business value with that customer desire.
Right.
Right. I mean, And I think you've answered really that that's how powerful this medium is to business. And also that there are many benefits then from live streaming. So I would say, would you agree that it's here to stay? This isn't just, a phase that we're going through. I think it maybe got accelerated with the current condition, but I would say that it's going to develop into new directions and bigger directions and continue for sure as a mainstream thing.
Sure. And that key word that you mentioned was accelerator, because we already had the building blocks in place. People were getting experience going live. It was a normal thing now for a lot of people who spend time on social media. If they weren't going live, they were seeing other people and consuming live content. And the technology had come along to where tools like StreamYard and Zoom make it possible for anybody to really get on live video without a special super-powered computer or knowing which wire has to be plugged into switchers and cameras and all sorts of things, and how to route audio that people might have had to know, a few years back. So the technology for doing stable broadcasts is here and doing stable content. And you put all that together, and it was all in place. So what you said about accelerating, the pandemic was an accelerant, right? It made it, people who were looking at it or considering it or wondering if they could get the budget for it, it made it a business necessity. But it was going to happen anyway. It just happened a lot faster. And like I say, I think anybody who's doing it with any success is not going to drop it for some other type of marketing, because, and I said this in 2015, and I think it's still true today, although it depends on how you do it, but the risk reward is still low risk, high reward, as long as you have people that you can trust won't embarrass your business, your company, your reputation. Then it's otherwise low risk, it's low expense, it's something you can certainly start and stop, you can change up. It's not buying expensive machinery, it's not investing in a very long ad contract in which you don't even know how to measure whether anybody's getting the real eyeballs on that or not. Digital has a lot of different ways to give us feedback that traditional advertising did not. It's just that those metrics aren't yet industry-wide accepted among big media as they might have been by now. They've
as
been
highly
more
relevant
open
as
to
they
it in
are.
the early, right.
Right.
So, Nielsen ratings and Arbitron ratings for radio, Nielsen for TV, all have this sense of like, this is the industry standard, it's been around forever, but in fact it's not very precise. If you look at how it's done, nobody's ever asked me what I listen to or what I watch on TV, but every time I click into one of your live streams, you get data that people are watching, that people are commenting, like Miss Eileen commenting just a few minutes ago. And so there's that as well. You get immediate feedback. What's working? What's not working? What do people like? They can tell you right in the chat, right?
I love it. On your streams, people are asking like constant questions. Like there's so many questions, you can't get to them all. But that's the other thing. If you have questions for Ross, you can put them in. If you're on Facebook, there is a link to let StreamYard see who you are. But the really cool thing about that, like with Miss Eileen, I think can't I put her comment up, I think? Let's see. Oh, look,
yeah.
I did it. That's the first time I ever put a comment up. So
go.
thank you, Ross. Look at that. But yeah, so if you're on Facebook and if you watch the replay, people come back around. Like Ross comes back around after you watch a stream. If you have a question and he missed it, he will reply to you in the comments, which I think is super cool. And if you want to get a hold of Ross, he is iRossBrand on Twitter, and LiveStream Universe is his is one of his also another brand for him that you can go on and jump on his LiveStream Universe. Ta-da!
Yeah, so it's Livestream Universe on Facebook and YouTube, and it's iRoss Brand
And then
on
he does
Twitter. Whoa!
StreamYard Connect also, which we can't forget because we are broadcasting today for you on the StreamYard platform because it is an excellent platform, and it's where we're learning to do, at least where I'm learning to do this, and something that Ross talks about often. So that's one of the things that's you kind of already answered in what we were just discussing, the question. Look, first-time commenter, Miss Eileen, I bet.
That's awesome.
I don't know. That's too funny, huh? So, yeah, it's really kind of cool because it's all a learning process, which, in business is, something you should be doing at all times. You should be trying to improve and learn at all times with your business. But on top of that, you have a way to directly connect to your audience. And then what Ross just answered was the question of the barrier to doing live stream. There are none. You can do it. And StreamYard makes it extremely easy. Do you want to go ahead and throw out the 3 StreamYard laws of how they work?
The 3 laws of StreamYard live streaming. The 3 pillars established by Gage Vandentop and Dan Briggs, the co-founders, are ease of use, stability, and professional-looking streams. And those
look
are
how
the
professional that is.
The pillars that really influence every decision that they make about whether to add a feature or add some aspect to the product or not. But what I really love about it is the ease of use, that you can send me a link, and even though we had this planned for a while, I literally jumped on, I think, 2 minutes before the show started, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to crop my video. You don't have to figure out how to route my audio. It's all there. It's stable. So you haven't had to ask me, oh, Ross, can you refresh your browser? Maybe you have another window open in Chrome. Can you shut that? Can you, check if you're plugged in? No, it's just working. It's just working. We're both coming from different locations. It works
better than me because I'm not always ready, but it's going on. It's going on even if I'm not going on. But, that's the thing. So that's the answer, you guys. The barrier is like 0. You can get on StreamYard. You can even get on the free version of StreamYard. And today, right now, we're on Periscope, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube. Why not? Why not go to your different channels that you are on, actively on? Some people are on LinkedIn. You have to get permission to do video on LinkedIn. But Ross, I'm sure, you're on LinkedIn?
I am. I haven't been that active on LinkedIn Live lately. If you asked me a year ago, I would have said it's the best opportunity. Now I'm not so sure. But that could change again. See, the algorithms and platforms are constantly changing. So a year ago, they couldn't push your stuff in front of more people. I mean, it was like everybody in your network. So if you had a good network on LinkedIn, you could really be broadcasting to a large audience. Now they don't seem to be really pushing your lives, at least when I was going live still to LinkedIn. And maybe I have to start it up again. Maybe I have to try just going to LinkedIn or try different content for it. But I've talked to a lot of people who've been active on LinkedIn Live, and they've all talked about how right now it's very tough to get much organic reach on LinkedIn.
Well, the thing about it is you've pointed out that you might want to alter your content for different channels. Now, I talk about kind of the same thing, business and content, pretty much with my podcast, with my blogs, with my audience on all my channels. And I'm big on Twitter, even though Twitter isn't considered, really the place to live stream. I'm a Twitterer, though. So why not include that is my thinking. But, I think you've talked about all kinds of reasons why it's smart to live stream. And here's what I said before my definition. Live streaming is entrenched in the relationship building as a form of social selling, and it's reflecting the current state of marketing in the digital space, meaning that your audience, your community, your clients, your colleagues are all part of the process. There's a lot of collaboration going on right now in marketing and on the internet. And, you know, when we share each other's content, we're collaborating. When I'm learning from you and then passing that information on to my audience, we're collaborating. So do you think the success of live streaming in that case is proven that it doesn't really depend on special equipment or expensive tools?
Well, I think the content is what matters, because if the content isn't good, you know, bad content in a $1 million studio is still bad content, right? But good content, lo-fi, low res, is still worth paying attention to, as long as you can clearly hear the audio and you're not missing words and missing what people are saying, or it's not completely unpleasant to listen to. If people like the value that you're providing, they like what you're talking about, makes them laugh, makes them think, teaches them something that they can do to make more money in their business or have better relationships or whatever their goal is, and whatever your content is, then they don't really care about little increments of bet. And that's what it is. I mean, if you're going to spend a lot of money, you're doing it for yourself in part, or you're doing it because you're working with clients who demand a certain level of production. But I went live the first 2+ years that I was doing this. I went live with my built-in webcam in my computer and a USB microphone that cost me, I think, $49 at the time. So everything that I did in terms of establishing myself was done with those two basic tools that anybody could pretty much afford and probably have. Other people have gone live and built their brand online through using their mobile phone. Your mobile phone probably now has a much better camera than your webcam, and probably better for video than even some, point and shoot cameras do. So
everyone has
the tools are
hope.
there, right? Like, yeah, I mean, you could take your phone, you could put it on. I've got something else on it, but you could put it on this handheld tripod that costs, I think, under $20. The phone is expensive, but I assume most people have one.
Yeah,
so
that's already in your inventory.
Right. Or you can get a USB handheld style mic for $59 to $79. You can get a boom arm. This one has to be stronger because this mic is quite heavy. But the one I used before it literally cost, I think, $12.99. So if you get the audio right, and then you have a webcam built into your computer, or you get an inexpensive webcam when the companies, not really the companies, but the people that sell us those webcams that the companies make, who are price gouging, when that isn't happening, and you get a decent webcam, a Logitech C920,
that's what I'm using.
$50, or a C922X for $75 to $100. Look at stores that don't mark things up, like B&H, Adorama. Look at those places right now, because there's not a third-party seller after them, or a fourth-party seller. So look at those and see what you can get. Maybe the price is up a little bit, but if you can get a webcam for under $100, you can get a microphone for under $100. You've got the building blocks. But like I say, you could use your phone as your camera. There's a lot of different things you can do that really cost no money. The one thing I would recommend not doing, although if you have to, get on and do what you do, but I would say I don't recommend using your computer's built-in mic. It's too far from you. It's going to pick up a lot of noise. It's not a great quality preamp, although Mac claims that its latest MacBook Pro is like studio sound quality microphone. I don't know if it is or it isn't, assuming you type on your keys, you click your mouse, any of that stuff, you're making noise right by where those microphones probably are. And, what do you have to spend? $2,500 for a MacBook Pro that has that quality? So why not use what you have, right? And then there are lamps.
And then slowly build up. At least that's how it seems like. And one thing I learned from Ross, when you're looking for your mics, this is, I think, important, and people might not know. There's two kinds of mics, and there's there's dynamic and condenser, which you taught me about. So there's those to look at, and then there's also whether it's a analog mic, which isn't meant to be plugged in digitally, so it needs another component to get plugged in to be a digital mic, or whether it's a digital ready mic to plug into a USB. So that's one thing also I think people need to know. And at first you might not realize that differentiation.
Yeah, I actually have a video that I'm planning to publish this afternoon that if you want to get a mic that's much like this, that's a traditional studio mic, but don't want to deal with having to buy an audio interface and other gear to plug it into, or a mixer, and you want to just go USB, there is a mic that I'm going to talk about in my video that's coming out this afternoon that is just incredible. It's the best dynamic USB mic I've ever heard, and it really shows that even on a USB mic, you can sound good. The difference between using even an inexpensive USB mic and talking right into your webcam's built-in camera or your computer's built-in camera is huge. Now, the pickup on the phones isn't bad. Like, if you had to just use the phone without even a mic, that's not bad. Obviously, if you can plug a little mic into the phone that will take away a little bit of the general noise in the environment and focus more on your voice, that's good, but it's, again, not necessary. Literally, I've seen people prop their phone on candy bars and on books and, and just click, go live and do it.
The candy bar, I like that, the candy bar stack. I'm using a piece of wood.
Right.
To hold my mic in position because I wanted it to be a little bit higher today than in the past. I rearranged it with your advice.
Yeah, it sounds great being so close to you. It really does.
Because mine is a condenser mic and it's meant to work that way. So it's interesting that, and as the point too that Ross made that was important, lesson 2, is that the audio quality and the audio content is even more important, maybe perhaps, than the video content, even in your live stream, because people, if they can hear your message, if they're getting, good quality information, that's what's going to be important. Am I right?
I think absolutely, and there's a simple way to demonstrate it. I can turn off my camera and the conversation continues, and you can still hear what I'm saying, and you can ask me questions, and people can hear my questions, or I can turn on
your sound, and then that was good, Ross.
So when I turn off my microphone, it's going to get old in a hurry, right? Because there's no more content really coming out. I'm not, I'm not at one of the 8 wonders of the world.
That was a great demonstration,
buddy.
I liked it. And not to mention you have special equipment that'll let you, go fade to black. So don't forget. Now that is impressive. So audio is definitely the most important thing to pay attention to for your best chance of success doing your live stream show. And then what would you recommend in that case for a top pick for your microphone? And that show that you have coming out later to talk about the microphone that you're going to talk about, is that a live show?
No, it's a video. It's just a recorded video clip from a live show, but it focuses just on that, what we talked about with related to that microphone.
Is this a Shure microphone? I may have cut that.
It could well be. It could well be. It sure is.
It sure might be.
But so my recommendation, if you're starting out and you want to be budget conscious, my recommendation is the Samson Q2U USB mic. It comes with both a USB plug-in, so you can plug it right to your computer, and it also comes with an XLR connection. So as you grow, and you may add a mixer, or you may use it to give a speech somewhere and plug it into a live soundboard, you can do a lot of different things with it. You can grow with it. It's a very good quality mic for an entry-level USB mic. It's what I used for the first 2 years that I was, 2+ years that I was live streaming, maybe the first 3 years.
And it's not going to break the bank. So
I got it for $49. I believe now it's between $59 and $79.
Excellent.
So it comes with a little foam windscreen that you can put on the front of the mic so that your breathing doesn't get picked up by the mic as much. And so that is a excellent mic for anyone, but it's particularly excellent for people starting out because of the simplicity of plugging it in USB. If you want a premium USB mic, you want to really step it up, there is the Shure MV7, which is kind of designed to be like this mic and one other Shure mic, but it's also different, and it can be used both USB or with a XLR plug-in. So you can use it either analog or digital. And if you use it digital, it comes with an app that lets you do some processing. You can EQ your voice and add compression, and it's even set up so that you can put a setting on either for if you're near the mic or you're far from the mic. So a lot of people like to not have the mic right in their shot. Well, this is a mic that's actually made with that idea. Most mics like this, you assume that the person's going to be close to the mic. So that's another, that's an option if you want to spend a little more. But those are probably your two. I mean, I would say start with the Samson Q2U. If you like it and you're doing this for a while and you're happy with your content, then you could look at the Shure MV7, or you could start looking at XLR mics, mics that you would plug into an interface or a mixer. And one thing to understand is, unlike video gear, professional audio gear is not out of range, right? It's expensive compared to what you think you might have spent if you weren't doing this, but not like getting a professional camera, a professional video camera would cost. You can get a decent mic for $99, $100. You can get a good audio interface for under $200. There's one called by Audient called Evo, I think. You could get a Sennheiser E835 mic or a Shure SM58, both handheld mics. You could plug them into that audio interface, and for $220, $240, you could have very, very good mic and interface, and you've hardly spent anything in comparison.
It's a good investment.
Right. When I worked in radio, we took the SM58 when we went out to cover events and press conferences, and so these are legitimate pro mics.
I was surprised at the rich history that the Shure mics have, and that how much they're in the performance industry as well. That they're a known and historically rich company for microphones.
Well, this was the first mic that my first regular paid on-air gig was I used the Shure SM7B. I also used a mic called the Electro Voice RE20. Those were two that were just ubiquitous. I mean, they were everywhere in radio stations throughout the country. Now, these have become particularly popular amongst podcasters and streamers, maybe in part because they look good on video. The RE20 has a different kind of look, but it's just a very smooth mic. I like it very much. And when I think about like all the different options out there, though, there's so many good options right now that just getting one and not using the built-in mic in your computer that's where the difference is made. Then you're talking little increments after that.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. So then I kind of asked you because I ran out of holes in my laptop. So I had asked you about having, like right now I can only manipulate using my laptop scroll, which I'm messing up right now. I just got off on something else. Anyway, so yeah, so using my laptop scroll or center bar or whatever and whatever, right. And this is actually a one I can point like touch screen, luckily for me, because I'm not that great without the mouse. But so you had suggested that there was a little thing called an ATEM or an ATEM mini or ATEM. There, I guess there's a mini and a not mini, but those would be to have extra things plugged in for your live streaming. Like if I wanted use of the mouse, I can either have a mic or a mouse right now.
No.
Okay.
The ATEM mini would be if you wanted to have multiple cameras plugged in or multiple.
That's just for
sources.
Cameras.
Yeah, I mean it's basically for doing a multiple camera production.
Like now, for a cook, they would want their overhead view looking down at the cutting board, and they would want maybe the whole kitchen view to see the appliances or putting it in the oven.
And now let me just say that you could use StreamYard and you could have a second browser and just bring the video in that way and switch back and forth or put both videos on screen. You don't necessarily have to get something like the ATEM Mini or the ATEM Mini Pro.
Oh, there's a workaround just by signing in.
There's different options. It depends what cameras you want to use and how sophisticated you want. I'm using the ATEM Mini right now, even though I'm only using one camera, because I'm using a mirrorless camera, and so that transfers with what's called an HDMI cable, right?
Right.
So it has to go into something which then captures that video and sends it to the computer as a USB feed. So it comes in like a webcam. So there's little things called capture cards, which can be as expensive as the camera, depending on what camera you get, or they can be more affordable. That you plug the HDMI here, and then you plug this in by USB. The ATEM Mini allows you to plug 4 cameras in. You do your switching on the ATEM Mini, and then you plug that into your computer, and it sends all that switched captured video down one USB cord as a webcam feed outputted, and then you, like in StreamYard, you would just choose the ATEM Mini as your camera, essentially.
So what device would I use to get a mouse extra hole?
There's something called a USB hub, and I would say that would be the most cost-effective solution. There's some that have like 2 or 3 extra. Basically, you plug it in to your computer via USB, and then you can plug extra USBs into that hub.
Okay, that might
would be the
ticket.
easiest way to solve the problem.
Yeah, because everything else I got in, I was able to find a HDMI cord to do the second screen when I'm ready to do that with presentations.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I was like, so because you said all you have to do is plug it in. So then I was like, that's it. I'm going to figure this out. And so I did. I'm figuring, see, that's the thing too. I think each time you do it, you get a little better, and hopefully that's the case with this show as well. But each of these things are a step up because I want to do more than interview. I want to be able to come on and do a presentation and talk about something and show some graphics and what have you. So I'm taking the show up a notch.
And then as you keep adding devices, you run out of electrical sockets, and then you get a power strip. And now the power strip is full, and I've got an extension cord running off of that, but that extension cord is full. So I have a computer that I want to plug in as an extra monitor, but I haven't found a place to keep it plugged in.
Like me, there's cords all around me. Like when I get up, I hope I don't trip over one on my way away from the computer.
Right. If I were to go outside the frame, this gets a lot busier.
Exactly. So how do you... So the other thing that's always mentioned is a stream deck. Can you explain exactly what that is? Because, I think I'm cool because I have a second monitor and I can see what I'm doing for a presentation. So that solves my problem with bringing in, a presentation through a
Sure.
stream deck. But is that what that's about?
I've never actually used the Stream Deck, but my understanding of it is it works like the concept of hotkeys. Basically, you program a key on your keyboard that when you click that, it means something else. It doesn't mean the number one.
It brings in a video or
right.
it brings in.
So you program the Stream Deck for different things. So one button will be to switch shots. Another one will be to show the screen share. Another one might be to fire music or bring in a different camera or what have you. One might make I don't know all the different things it can do, but basically it becomes a way of just clicking a button, not having to, move your mouse around to get it to the spot. And,
So again, that's taking it up a level, but there's already a workaround and a way to do that in a little less dramatic and big production way with just having the second monitor, which I'm doing as easily as plugging it into with an HDM cord and working
Right.
it all from one control, which I think is so groovy.
Yeah. And whether I have a second monitor or not, I've been doing everything all these years with my mouse. So even if I'm doing something where I'm switching shots a lot, I'm clicking with my mouse to do it. But at some point, it might be kind of cool to have something and you just start. But I don't have that many different things right now. I don't think that I need. And if I do want to change shots, obviously I don't have another camera there. But if I did want to change shots, I can do that on the A10 Mini if I had another camera plugged in right now.
Right, that's super cool because I think the second monitor is gonna work fine for doing the presentations. I experimented with it a little bit. I haven't gone live doing it, but I've been practicing. So when I go live, hopefully it won't be too blooper filled.
Right.
I'm good at that so far. So how do you? So really, at what point they're needed? These things, an ATEM or a Stream Deck or anything, is based on how you progress in how you want to do your production, and you can really keep it simple as long as you're delivering that quality content. And I think too, when you have an interview, that limits your ability. I didn't want to do a presentation today, even though you're making great points that I could put up, for people to, write down or grab those points. I didn't want to take time out from the discussion to do a PowerPoint or some kind of presentation. But if you're presenting alone or if it's not an interview, the format, depending on the format of what you're trying to accomplish, that might be the way to do it.
Yeah, one of the things you see, Sue Ann, and you see this at even the highest levels of TV news and sports production, is when there are new features that come along or the company buys some feature and gives it to the broadcast team, there's a sense of, oh, we have this, now we have to use it. And really, you should only add things to the broadcast because there's a reason for it. You ask yourself, how does this enhance the viewing experience? And does it make it easier for the viewers to connect with me? Does it make it easier for them to consume information or not? And I was surprised when I watched an online course by somebody who was I think, very sophisticated in all sorts of online content creation. And she basically had herself in a little circle talking, and she had a card that just basically had the heading of what she was talking about, and only when she needed to add a graphic or something did she put something up. But otherwise, the lessons were you really could just listen and take notes or listen and take mental notes and then go work on what you wanted to work on afterwards. So there's something to be said for simplicity.
Like my old dad says, don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Exactly. Yeah.
That I'm taking you into the old school
Right.
method, but it's really true. And maybe you and I, let's not look at our hair and decide that we might be a little on the older part.
Hey, I started going gray in my 20s.
I'm going blonde. I don't know what you're doing.
I started going gray in my 20s, so
Okay, so that's
I'm
not
used
that's
to
not
looking
a
at it.
that's not a question of age in your case. Okay.
It might be, but it wasn't
to know.
always.
So let me ask you this. How do you plan and schedule your show's content? Do you have like a formal process that you use, or do you suggest a standard show format for every time, or do you vary your format? What's your process?
Well, if I'm working with somebody who's looking for consulting, they want me to help them develop a show and have it aligned with their business and so forth, I look at the person and I see, how do they perform best? What kind of content fits their personality, fits their style of delivery? What do they like to do? What are they interested in? And how do they work in general? So if you're somebody who likes to have everything organized and likes to have detailed, leaving nothing to chance, then you may want to have every second of the broadcast listed down in a run of show. You may want to script parts or even most of a broadcast. If you're somebody who's better off the cuff, you're somebody who doesn't love structure, then you're going to find that you do better without that. So there's no one size fits all. When I first got into radio, I wanted to do music. I learned very quickly, like within minutes, my style of talking wasn't going to make me a success at doing music. Then I wanted to do news and politics. I did an interview, and it was okay. And then somebody came into the studio and said, "Hey, on your show next week, can we talk sports? I'm doing the halftime show for the football game." And it was pretty evident that my style of talking and delivery and so forth was just a natural fit for sports. So there's what you're interested in, which is certainly I was knowledgeable and interested in sports, but it would have been probably my third choice. It wasn't what I was looking to do when I got into radio, when I first started hosting on a little tiny station with, 4 listeners. But I had to pick something that, I was good at, that worked with who I am and my style of delivery, the sound of my voice, the way I talk and present. There's all these different things you have to look at. What what you're interested in, what your audience is interested in. So and then how you work. Do you work well with a script? Do you work well off the cuff? Do you work well following a run of show?
Do you do like I did with do you give questions ahead or anything like that, or do you just do it off the cuff?
I will
with your guest?
If somebody says, "Can I get some questions ahead of time?" I will give them an overview of the topics. So here's how I do it. Okay. I have nothing in front of me except if I'm using slides. I can put those slides up and I can use them to remind me where I am in the show. But I don't have anything in front of me. I can introduce, my memory's good. I can introduce a guest I had 5 years ago if they came on the show now and know what book they wrote or what they do or what makes them of interest to an audience. So that's something that just I can do. And then beyond that, I've done this now so much that I really don't need a script, and it would come across a little stilted if I tried to read. I'm just more comfortable going with the flow, and frankly, I'm probably better. But there are times where there's been a difficult topic or somebody's given me information and asked me to talk about something that I don't know. And preparation has been very much the key. If I didn't write something down, if I didn't have some notes, if I didn't go over it once or twice, it might not have come off all that well. So you also have to decide what you're doing. When I was covering sports, I got sent to a sports-related story that was a news story to cover. And I said to one of the news guys, it's kind of weird covering something that I don't know anything about. And he said, well, that's what it's like doing news every day. When I go to a game, I know who's playing. I know, I watch the league. I have a general idea of what the sport is about. When you go to a news event, it's unpredictable. One day you're covering a fire. Next day you're covering something with nutrition. The next day the governor's getting indicted. You don't know what you're... So again, it depends. If you're covering something you don't know a lot about, or where you have to be really precise with the facts and it's not something you talk about frequently, you'll want to have some notes, an index card, or an extra virtual pad open on your
I
computer.
think if you're not a pro like you, who, like you say, you already are familiar with your guests. I generally am too, or I wouldn't have asked them on.
Exactly. I know why I want to have. That's the biggest thing.
Then
why
you're
do you want to
prepared.
have somebody on? Because anybody that I've had on since I've been live streaming, with a few exceptions, is not a household name, right? So if you're having Tom Hanks on or Julia Roberts or something, you can literally say, ladies and gentlemen, it's Tom Hanks or Julia. You don't really need, but otherwise you have to have a reason why you're having somebody on if you want to give the audience a reason to tune in. So if I was having you on, I would be talking to you about marketing your business. Right? And that's what if I just said I'm having Sue Ann on tomorrow, people be like, interesting. Who's Sue Ann? If I said Sue Ann joins us, she's a longtime business owner with a great experience in marketing. She's going to talk about how you can transition to marketing your business online during this lockdown or whatever. Now people are going, okay, that could be information that I need. But too many people just go, we're having this person on, and unless they're doing it in a Facebook group or something where everybody knows everybody, it's not really that effective a promotion, because most of the people, if you're going to grow your audience, you're not growing it necessarily amongst people who know the live streaming social marketing community that we spend time in.
And Ross has been doing the LIVEStreaming Universe show for 5 years now. 5 years. So that is how you get the professional background in order to be able to, come off and not have to do a ton of preliminary research and investigation. You're kind of already on top of it. You know what you want to talk about. You know what you're learning. It's part of what, your sphere of things. And that's one of the things I love about your shows, Ross, because, live streaming is part of marketing and content marketing and social media marketing and digital marketing. And, it involves equipment like microphones and, people who are really hot in sound and podcasting, and you cover all of those related things that still have to do with live streaming and it's, bigger topics around it. And that makes it interesting, because another thing I think that happens is you hear the same thing over and over. That's not bringing something new and exciting to the table. And, people get bored, I would think, with that. At least I do.
I think that can happen, right? How many times do you need to listen to the same thing? And that's one of the values of doing interviews and bringing on guests, people who have expertise in areas where you may have some knowledge. You may even be an expert in the area, but let's get somebody else's opinion on it. Or they've worked on something, a book, they're doing a show, they're interviewing thought leaders themselves. Let's see what they have to bring to the topic. And also, let's get their audience involved. In some cases, that helps grow your audience. In other cases, their audience just comes to see them, and it goes back to their properties. So, and I'm saying that because a lot of people think, oh, if I get a big name guest on, then I'm going to get, millions of subscribers. And in fact, most of those people will come to watch the guest. You have to find a way to get them to stay with you, and that can be very hard to impossible at times, but other times it's not. It just all depends on how you resonate. It depends on a lot of things. There's things you can do, but there's also a lot of intangibles in this. When you watch the news at night, you don't sit there going, oh, he was good tonight, he was great. You just know you like this person, you don't like this person. You like how they present something on TV, you like this actor, you don't like them. You're not so focused on, oh, they were good this day, that day. So understand people have the same sort of visceral reactions to people they see on live streaming. Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to be a perfect fit for your content, for your personality, for your area of knowledge, and so forth. So it takes time. There's no shortcut. You got to keep going live at least once a week over a long period of time, and you've got to hit home. It's this time. It's this day. It's, this is what the show's about. This is what we do. This is who's coming on. And first of all, I want to say two things.
So that is one of the things in your process is not only do you kind of do it informally as far as the interview process and the live stream process, but you don't do it informally in that you do it at a standard like weekly show, or you've, got a regular kind of audience kind of built that watch it either live or go back and watch it. I know if I miss it live, I usually go look for it because I did want to see the guest or hear the new information.
Now, this might sound insane, right? But the first year that I was live streaming, the first full year, I started going live late in 2015. So 2016, I was doing a weekly show. By March or April, I had booked out the rest of the year. Every single week was filled with guests. I knew that I wanted to get people who, I wanted to talk to. And I also wanted to show and make a statement to both viewers and to potential guests for other shows that I might do and for future episodes that this is here to stay. Look at these other guests have already committed. You should come on as well. And
you can start promoting. You can start promoting for the whole season, kind of, right? Or do you do it only so far out?
I tend to always promote the next thing. It doesn't mean that that's the best way to do it, but I tend to go show to show. So if I'm doing a show on Wednesday and then a show the next week on Wednesday, for example, StreamYard Connect, I'll be promoting this upcoming show starting later today or tomorrow. But I'm also, the other thing I'm doing is I'm repurposing the past show. And now, as you've showed me a couple new tricks with Agora Pulse that I hadn't been using to schedule some things, I will probably be repurposing some older content more frequently than just the week that I would have otherwise pushed it out there. But I want to make the point. There's nothing wrong with using notes. There's nothing wrong with using a script. There's nothing wrong with preparing and rehearsing. All of these things can be good if they work for you. And
at least till you get the swing of it.
Right. But
you don't want to come on, I think, off the cuff and be unprepared. I've seen so many people come on live and they have nothing to say. Like, why did you come on live? Right. And the other thing I do like about live is it gets rid of a little bit of my perfection addiction.
Yes.
Because it's here you are, do it and done, and here we are. It's what it is, how it happens, right?
Yeah, and the audience is more forgiving when you're live because they know it's live. They know you didn't do 7 takes of this. It can't be perfect because live is never perfect. It's not perfect at the highest levels of network television. It just isn't. There's people, there's technology, there's all sorts of things that can come up. But I do have a plan, and when I invite somebody on a show, I tend to know what I want to talk to them about. I know why I'm inviting them on the show, what that show is likely to be about, and kind of what the storylines are that we would probably... I mean, it's all in my head, but it's there, right? And so it's not like I'm without a roadmap.
You still have a framework,
yeah,
right?
I mean, absolutely. And I think in terms of segments, like... if you came on, I might ask you about your background as a business owner. Then this would be in my head. Like, all right, we'll talk to Sue Ann about her background as a business owner. I think the audience would like to know a little bit about who she is. Then I'm going to ask her about her expertise in marketing and how she's doing that online. And finally, it'll be fun to talk to her about how she's using StreamYard and doing live streaming. But I'm not looking at a list of questions so that when you drop a bomb like, oh yeah, and the greatest thing about marketing is my last video got 7 million views, and I was invited to all the talk shows, the late night talk shows. I'm not now going, and so how do you like live streaming on YouTube? Because that's the next question. I'm going, okay, we're going to follow that road, even if I throw out everything else.
Tell us more about that. Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm leaving myself the flexibility, and I'm listening to what you say when I'm interviewing you, and then, just so in the moment, I don't have a preconceived notion. I have like the plan, like this broad sort of vague plan that I know that I can always come back to, and I can always, like the first topic doesn't seem to click, or we've exhausted that. I'm going to go to, I'm not going to do it at a specific time. I'm just going to go by feel and like, okay, this is good. Okay, this is good, but you know what? I didn't get to something I wanted to talk about, but the conversation's moved past that now. I'm not going to go back. Like, if I ask you about being a child and then we start talking about you owning a business, I'm probably not going to head back and ask you about being a teenager unless I know that it's a audience gripping story, right? Like, I'm going to just, like, it moves along. You only have so much time. So don't think that there isn't a method to it. And in the beginning, jotting down some notes about, say, three topic areas or semi segments that you want to cover in an interview can be really helpful, because too many times I see people interviewing somebody and the interview ends when they run out of questions. And the interview should end either when you planned it to end, because you always do a guest segment that's 25 minutes or 45 minutes, or it should end just naturally because it was a great conversation and that, or there's nothing there, but it shouldn't just end because your list of questions ends. So if you listen to the person, you should always have another question that you can ask. Sometimes you can get a lot out of people by just reflecting what they said, and then they'll go deeper into it.
So I like the fact that you're kind of covering a few things that I wanted to talk about. Things like, how you plan it, if you have to, stick with a certain format, if guests are a must. I think that you usually have a guest. What's your thought on guest or solo?
That's a good question. My thought when I started doing this, and I was very... every show was an interview show, just about. And the reason I did that is I felt, first of all, that's what I'm good at interviewing. I'm comfortable with it. I know that I don't have to worry, what if I don't have something to say? And that's something everybody, like, what if I go live and there isn't enough meat on the bone, right? About the topic that I was going to talk about.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about that as much with a guest, because I can always ask another question or always go a different route, or, I just know that I can do that with a guest. So, and the other thing was that this is a social platform. It's a social medium. There's an engagement with a chat. We're on social websites. So having a conversation to me seems a great way to also get a conversation going amongst the people watching, amongst people with each other in the chat. Conversation leads to more conversation.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean I didn't do where I would jump on live by myself where it wasn't a show and I would just start talking about something of interest or just chatting with the people that come in. Those are fun. I don't do them enough, and I always enjoy them when I do them. And I'll take any questions, and, maybe sometimes I'll even bring somebody out of the chat and just, come on in. That's interesting. I want to hear more about that. And then that kind of goes from being an informal to like, okay, we've got an interview going on here.
Right.
But so in more recent years, I've done much more solo stuff, and I'm comfortable with it. And in fact, I had a guest cancel. I did a show, and it was one of my more popular shows. So I could go either way. I think it's nice to have a mix. So I do
that's
the
what
first
I'm doing,
20 minutes alone. Then I bring a guest on for about 35 minutes. Then I do about 5, 10, 15, 20. You know, I do a wrap up after that.
Yeah, yours is kind of a mix. It's a guest and some solo segments, I guess, huh? Because my podcast was always, a lot of it was me talking about a topic or covering a topic, but I've had some interviews. But now with the show going as a live video, I've been trying to bring in guests because I feel like with the live video, that's an interesting thing to do. But I still have topics I want to cover, and I'm a little shy about doing it on my own since I'm still building the live audience too. But you know what? Again, when you go on and you produce whatever you produce, and especially if you do it live, it's done and it's out there. And so it's a beautiful way to make content. So I'm thinking I might get brave and try them even that way. But having people like you on is even better. You know, I know I've been learning a lot today. I hope everybody else is. I don't want to take up I know we're over a little over an hour now. I did have a couple more questions,
Sure.
but I don't want to. Do you have another minute to just ask you one last question?
Of course. As long as you need.
Okay.
I don't get tired till about 5 hours. So
That's
I
really
got
good.
a few more minutes, so it's fine. Go ahead.
So you do promote shows ahead, and your best technique to do so is to just, bring them up on previous shows, kind of like talk about it, and then use your social scheduling like Agora Pulse. Is that probably the routine?
I would say that I design a show card, a graphic, one that'll be the primary graphic. That also can be a YouTube thumbnail cover or a Facebook video cover, and then sometimes I'll do a square graphic or a one that vertical that you could run in stories. I design the graphic, then after that I schedule it in StreamYard. And so then I get the links of where it's going to be on Facebook and YouTube.
Do you schedule it far advance in StreamYard so it comes up in your channels as scheduled? Because I was afraid to do mine until today, but I probably could have done it earlier in this week for today.
I mean, I've done it as much as a week ahead.
Okay.
And the different platforms have different rules how far ahead you can do it. I'm not sure how far. And I mess around. Sometimes I'll schedule it real close. Sometimes I'll schedule it real far. I'm always trying to see, does it make a difference? And of course, there's so many variables that you never know what the reason why one show does better.
Excels,
you
right.
always think, okay, I did this thing different. Yeah, but you had a different topic, a different guest. It was a different day. There
Right.
was news that day. The other day there wasn't. So who knows? But I've tried it different ways just to see how it goes. But in general, 4 to 5 days ahead. But I've done it the night before. But I think what's great about it is you get the link. And then you can share that link in all your promotional posts.
Yeah.
So
I just figured that out. That was
suggest
good.
that because then I see your post on Twitter, I can click on that link, and then I can click get reminder on Facebook or set reminder on YouTube, and now I'm going to get a notification, because even if I have my notifications turned on and I have the bell set to ring like I do on YouTube when you go live, I don't always get a notification. Or I'm not as aware. But if you set that reminder, it'll start. And if you do it on more than one channel, they all start jumping up in your notifications.
It's kind of cool because, a few people after my last show, which was the first time I really invited anyone to the live audience or promoted it, I've been practicing in secret. But when I did that, people were asking for the link, and I wasn't exactly sure how to do that. So I was just kind of sending them to my channel. And now I realize that you can actually schedule it and get a link and give them the link ahead of time. And then now, a step further, I learned they can then set a buzzer to get a reminder, so no one has to miss it. And we have a couple more comments coming in. Oh, it's Dana from StreamYard.
Dana from 2 Cents with Bents every
Yeah,
Tuesday
2
night at 8
Cents
p.m.
Marketing Benson. We love
8 p.m.
marketing.
Eastern.
Marketing is easy. Thanks, Dana, for coming in. I appreciate that. So then, scripting and storyboards, you're more like free flow. Was that the bottom line?
Yeah, for the most part.
And what's your best advice for people developing their shows? And how do you do it? How do you develop that show that's going to be a really good one?
Well, I think you have to be interested in the topic, right? If you're not interested in what you're doing and you just think, well, I should talk about this because it's sort of related to my business, it probably talk about something you're interested in that you can, obviously, if you can tie it to your business, that's great. But the more interested you are in the subject, the more you'll look forward to going live. Have guests on that you want to talk to, that you're interested in what they have to say, rather than somebody because you think that they're going to bring an audience or they're a big name, or
I'm usually looking to learn for me while I'm helping my audience learn.
Exactly. Who would I like to spend an hour with learning about?
I wanted to pick Ross's brain, so I asked him.
Right. It's a cheaper way to get the advice that you need is to just have them on a show and interview them, right? So,
my cheap advice. Thank you, Ross.
Consistency. When you're starting out, you pick a time, and unless it really isn't working, stick to that time, stick to that show title, keep your branding from changing every single week, and just get known that every Wednesday at 2 p.m. I'm doing StreamYard Connect, and every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Dana and Kelsey are doing StreamYard Spotlight, and every Friday at noon, Sue Ann is Mix, Shake, and Sizzle.
You're right, Mix, Sizzle, and Shake Your Business, live on video, today with Ross Brand. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here, Ross. Did I miss anything at all?
I don't think so. I think that was a very thorough interview. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, because I enjoy you in general. And also, I thank you for all the things that you've taught me about live streaming and about interviewing, about mics and equipment, and the things that you shared today. Now, if you didn't get to catch the show, make sure you check us out on a replay. Make sure you maybe, hashtag replay or whatever you're supposed to do. Right, Ross? And I will be coming back live, because each time I do it, I feel a little bit more confident, and I feel like it's fun and it's a great way to learn. And that's what I appreciate most about being online. I'm in a constant learning. I've been in a constant learning mode my whole life, but might as well keep it up. I know you're the same way. And that's one of the things too. Ross is always testing things and trying things and, bringing it back to people. And that's what I'd like to also be able to do. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for stopping in, the people that stopped, and I really appreciate everything today.
Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon, Ross. Talk to you, everybody. See you again for Mix, Sizzle, and Shake Your Business. Take care.